Hello everyone. I'm working with Ina McCrumlish in Louth Leader Partnership under the Employment Activation and Lifelong Learning Measure. Thank you very much for tuning into my second video on interview skills with Brid. In this video, I'm going to discuss preparation for interview. Now, it's a given that you have the skills for the job for which you've applied, and it's a given that at interview you will be able to discuss those skills. So I'm talking about general preparation. So what's the first thing you should do? The first thing you should do is review your application, review your covering letter and review your CV, so that when you go for interview, it tallies up with what you said about yourself at the application stage. Because the night before the interview is not the first time you're preparing. You've prepared ages back when you filled in your application form. So the next thing you should do is research. Research the company or organisation that you're hoping to go and work for. For example, how many employees do they have? How many outlets do they have? What is their main business? When were they founded? Do they have a mission statement? What type of culture is the organisation? Just even maybe read the website and see what you can come up with and find out as much as you possibly can about them so that you're prepared to answer questions on the day of interview. For example, how long have they been in operation as well? That all of this matters and you need to know it. What's their management structure like? So when you go for interview, you're fairly confident that you have the background research done on the company and that any questions they come up with you'll be able to answer. So when you finished your research, think about possible interview questions. Say for example you're interviewing for a job in your local supermarket and you're asked a question like, how many outlets we have in the town? Well, you have your research done, you know the answer, so we'll just say the answer is 2. Make sure you don't just say 2. You don't want one word answers. So a good answer would be, there's 2 outlets in this town, there are 10 outlets in the country, 5 of which are in Cork because the company was founded there, and maybe give the year if you know it. That shows them that you have done some research, you're interested in this company and you're interested in working with this company. So then think about other questions you could be asked, like for example your strengths and weaknesses. And if you are asked this question, always start with your weaknesses. So the last thing you mention are your strengths, and hopefully that's what they'll remember. But try and be genuine about it. Obviously they're not asking about your weaknesses as regards your diet or what you like to eat, that sort of thing. Everything is relatable to the job. So think about what ways that you have improved maybe in your job, or what maybe weaknesses you had. For example, you could say, well, when I started off in my old job, I was a little bit shy and maybe I didn't contribute as much as I could have, but I have learned to speak out. Or you could say, if these things are true of you, I was slow to ask questions and maybe you made mistakes because of that. But that you have learned and you have moved on. Let them know what you've learned from your weaknesses or how you're trying to improve on your weaknesses. You could even say something like, I'm a bit worried in this job that I haven't got the expertise or the experience, but I am willing to learn and I'm a quick learner. So let them know that you're willing to learn. Let them know that you'll learn from your mistakes and your weaknesses. Then if you're talking about your strengths, try again and be as genuine as possible. For example, the generic things like, I'm good with people. That's a bit of a cliche. Give examples, tell a story. You could say, yes, you are good with customer service. For example, you had a customer in with a very long complaint, how you dealt with that, and maybe how you turned it around even into a sale or a compliment. But tell it as a story, not a list of things that you've learned off. Give examples, give real life examples. Another strength could be that you're fairly organised. Maybe if you were saying that maybe your last manager told you how you made life easier for her because your filing systems were great. so, or maybe saved time for the company. Something like that. Make sure it's all relatable, that they can identify with it, and make sure you're sincere about it, because you want this company to want you. You must already have the skills or they wouldn't have invited you for interview, so you just now need to convince them that you have that little bit extra. And also, when you're thinking about questions, think about what questions you might ask if you're given the opportunity. And it is best to ask them. It's too easy to say, oh no, thank you, you've covered off everything. No, show them you're interested. Show them that you're thinking about the job. So have some questions ready to ask. You can always ask questions about, what traditions they have. Do they have dress down Fridays? You could ask a question about maybe are there opportunities to move on in the job? You could ask questions about training within the company. And if you have some questions prepared, keep one or two in reserve in case that during the course of the interview they answer your question. Like they could wrap up the interview and tell you all about training, then you're left with no question. So keep a question or two in reserve. Make sure it's not about pay or about holidays, but you could ask something like, is this a new position or is it an existing position? Something, just have a few extra questions at the ready in case, as I said, they answer them. You could even ask like, can you give me what a day looks like in this proposed position that you're hoping to get? Something like that, just to make sure that they know you're interested. So that brings me on to your wardrobe. What are you going to wear? Have you thought about what you're going to wear? Safe to say, all interviews, you're safe with a skirt or trousers, a shirt and a jacket. Runners, hoodies, sleeveless tops, massive jewellery or in-your-face body piercings are not a good idea at interview. So you're nearly always safe in a skirt or trousers, a shirt and a jacket. Maybe if you're going for a job in theatre, maybe then and only then can you indulge your creative side, or a tattoo parlour, something like that. But in most cases, it's the trousers or skirt, a shirt and a jacket, and no bare legs. In other words, if you're wearing a skirt, wear tights as well. It's just the safest option and you really can't go wrong. And you might think, oh, what an expense this is, but it's not. You probably have a lot of it in your wardrobe already. If you don't, maybe your family has, maybe your friends have. If not, you'll get it in pennies or duns fairly cheaply. You don't need to go to huge expense. That brings me on to grooming. Be careful of your grooming. You probably think this is very obvious, but it's important that your hair is not falling down, that it's neat, it's tidy, your nails are clean. You don't want to spend time having to brush your hair out of your eyes. That's not a good look. Also, if you have a nice bag or a wallet with you, that's good. Because if you're carrying documents or your passport, you don't want to look disorganised if they ask you for something. You don't want to be rustling through stuff. Be able to hand it out and out of your nice neat wardrobe or wallet or handbag. And when you get it in, when you have it with you, just put it on the floor. The last thing in preparation is to make sure you know where the venue is and how you're going to get there. Get there in plenty of good time. You do not want to rock up late and flustered. So just look up where it is and think about how you're going to travel there and come in nice, calm and organised. Thank you for listening to my second interview and the best of luck with your preparation.